Hello and welcome to today's video. It's been a while since I filmed last, but I felt that especially for today I wanted to film something that's kind of very close to my heart and that I've been thinking about for a long time. It's an article I wrote in October, and it's based on something that happened, and I will talk about that in a second. But I do think that it's really important to talk about. And by the title of the video, you already know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about justice and forgiveness today. And I think because it is Christmas and, there's like a lot of people coming together, a lot of like families gathering, and therefore I think it's a very good topic to talk about in this season right now. And why it came to me even writing that article is because I had a conversation with a terminally ill person, and he asked me, he was like very bluntly asking me, hey, what do Buddhists think about revenge? And I pretty much said, well, we don't really believe in revenge. And he explained to me very well why he didn't think it made sense to forgive, or, to have to not need to take revenge if somebody does you something wrong. And it was a very interesting conversation. But what I realized was that it's very difficult. If there is no justice in the world, then you need to take care of your own justice, which in that case makes perfect sense. If I don't think that there is somebody who will make things just, or if I don't believe that, the law is just, then what can I do besides like making sure I create my own justice for myself? I mean, there is obviously something, otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here. And this is the Buddhist approach. And I want to try to make this talk as little Buddhist kind of as possible, because I think that a lot of people can benefit from that. And I'm going to try to talk slow. I know I have a tendency to talk very fast, so I'm going to try to speak slow, so also future reader can edit this. Okay, so let's first talk about forgiveness, and then I will go into justice. I will go from forgiveness into justice, and then I will go from justice into forgiveness again. The thing with forgiveness is that a lot of time when we think we forgive somebody for something they've done wrong, we almost grant them permission. We grant them absolution for whatever they did wrong. Like, it's okay what you did to me because I forgive you. And it's like you almost as if forgiveness was taking away from your own right for justice. If I forgive somebody, what I'm doing is I'm giving up my right for justice if you did something wrong. And I get that point. I understand that it sounds like you are giving that person the right or like absolution. Yeah, you did wrong and it's fine because I forgive you. I get it sounds like that. But forgiveness is not like that at all. Forgiveness is not something that you necessarily do for another person. Forgiveness is not for somebody else mainly. Forgiveness is for ourselves. When I forgive somebody, what I am doing is I free my own heart of a burden that I was carrying around. And I think that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Because the only person that is really hurt by holding a grudge, is not the other person. It's me. It's the person holding that grudge and that resentment towards somebody else that has the most harm. In that sense, of course, forgiveness makes the most sense to not be harmed by myself, harming myself by myself. And it doesn't mean that I'm like closing my eyes and say, okay, I don't need justice, I'm fine. It's like, no, I need to let go of that resentment and that anger in my own heart and set myself free of that. That is what forgiveness is really about. Because the other person might not even know that there is something to forgive. The other person might not even know that they did something wrong. You know, of course, there are the people that try to harm us on purpose, but then most of the harm, that happens to us is not intentional. And people just are just crazy. They don't know what they're doing. And then they just like lash out and to everybody who's around them. And by holding that anger and that resentment towards those who are hurt themselves, it's just not really helpful. It's not helping them, it's not helping you, it's just not helping anybody. Because it's not making anything just. And I want to talk about pretty much the two people involved, right? I want to talk about the person that is being harmed, and I also want to focus a little bit on the person that is doing harm. Because I think sometimes we are the people, that are doing harm to others, And I think, how to deal with ourselves if we did harm somebody else, how to fix that relationship that we have with the other person and with ourselves if we made a mistake and we did, as a matter of fact, harm them. I think both are very important. Both points are very important. The person that did do the harm and the person that received the harm from somebody else. So now let's first talk about the person that has done the harm, right? So I know that I did something that I shouldn't have done, and I have like really strong regret about that. And I think I should somehow make it not necessarily okay, but do something about it, apologize, go out of my way to like make it right or make it okay. Now, what is a little bit complicated in this case is that it's not just about me making it okay, because I'm not the only person involved. What probably happened was that I did hurt some other person, and if I just try to like go out of my way to like help them or do something with them, they still have the choice to disagree, to not want to engage with me. They have that right, and I can't take that right away from them. It's about them not wanting or being okay with me reaching out and trying to fix a relationship. And I think that's often like the reason why we are so afraid to like apologize, even if something happened like a long, long time ago, because we're scared of that rejection. That other person might totally reject us, which is 100% their right. They have 100% the right to do that as the person that has been harmed. And I think because of that fear, though, we are often afraid to say, "Hey, remember that thing I did maybe even a long time ago, and I'm really sorry I did that." Because there's always the possibility that person will accept or reject, or even might have forgotten about what happened. But in any case, it is important that we try our best to make it up to the people that we hurt in the past, to fix the relationship we had with them. Future reader, editing this currently. So I think I forgot to mention that it's not necessary to like 100% like be friends with those people again. That's not what I meant. It's totally okay to like let go of people and like not engage with them so much anymore. That's totally okay. But to fix a problem that happened, like even if it means, hey, I'm sorry I did that, and also I don't want to engage with you anymore. That's like totally fine, normal. Because all I can do now is to like acknowledge that I made a mistake. I can say I did that, and I'm very, very sorry. I wish I could take it back. I wish that didn't happen, but it did happen, and now I want to fix it. Now I want to sit there and talk talk to you about it and like make it okay. In the case of you trying to really stand up for your mistakes and really say, I did this and I'm very, very sorry. In the case of rejection, you still did do the right thing. Even if the other person is not ready or doesn't want to fix the relationship with you, again, which is 100% the right. You did your best in trying to fix that relationship. I mean, granted, you really did, of course. And you can't just say, I did my best, but you didn't. I mean, it's something, you need to be a little bit honest with yourself. It's not something that, yeah, I did my best. You need to be very honest with yourself if you actually did go out of your way to fix that relationship. But if you really did, and you also need to respect if somebody does not want to build up that relationship again, or somebody who does not want to accept your apology. This is not something we do in Buddhism if you're a Buddhist practitioner, but it's something that people just don't have to do if they don't want to. But in that case, it doesn't make sense for you to continue to beat yourself up. It doesn't make sense to continue to feel guilty about what you did because you're trying to make it right. And honestly, personally, if somebody did not want to accept like my apology for something I did any time, or even tells me they forgot about it, it should be okay because it's their choice. And at the same time, I need to stop blaming myself and feeling guilty for the things I did in the past, and I do need to move on. Now I can't sit there and like hold a grudge against a person holding a grudge against me. Yeah, that's not really working. And I also need to not hold a grudge against myself. I need to like let go of that and continue on with my life. And maybe if the time is appropriate, maybe then again I can try to reach out. But this is a little bit of a sensitive and sensible issue there because it 100% depends on both people, not only on yourself. So this is if you were the person doing harm to another person, willingly, unwillingly, on purpose, not on purpose, anything really. Of course, the greatness or the length of the harm that you did to somebody is also, of course, a strong factor for the level of forgiveness that you will receive. Now, as the person who has received harm from somebody else, it is different. It is very, very different because there is kind of two people involved, but really, if you want to forgive somebody, there is only one person involved. There is only one person involved. That is you. Because the thing is, even if you forgive somebody, you cannot give them absolution. If you forgive somebody, it does not mean that what they did was okay. It doesn't work like that because wrong is wrong and right is right. And if somebody did something wrong, you can't just say, yeah, everything is fine. It's not. But every person needs to deal with themselves. And as a reasonable human, it is let's say reasonable human, but as honestly a human being that has vowed to help others, in my case, and I guess in a lot of you guys' cases, because I think a lot of fellow Buddhists will watch this video. In this case, we vowed and we promised to help beings. Therefore, I can't just let people slap me in the face. It's not acceptable, not because of me necessarily, but because of them. It's not for me to help people to not do bad things. Partially it is, but it's the same thing. it is important to help those who do harm to not do that anymore. It is important to tell those who do wrong to say, well, this is not right. You need to stop it and fix yourself, because otherwise you're gonna get in big trouble. And that is for the sake of the other person. It's not only for my sake. I mean, of course, personally, I don't want to be slapped in the face. I'm not a person that will, be slapped in the face and then hold my other cheek there so I can slap on the other cheek. It's not good. It's not good for me, but it's especially not good for the person doing that harm. I need to hold their hand, for example. Say, don't do that. Help them snap out of it. Because a lot of times people just don't know that they're doing harm. They don't know that they're acting in a harmful manner. Therefore, it's good, just tell them, look, what you're doing is not good, so please stop it and fix yourself. But the forgiveness part is totally different. Helping somebody to not do bad things and at the same time forgiving them for doing bad things is totally different. Because the forgiveness is not necessarily for them. I mean, of course it can be. If that person wants to be forgiven, you can forgive them to their face. But it's something you need to do in your own heart. And at the same time, you need to help them to not do that anymore, if you can. And I get that we have a very big sense of justice. And this is why I want to talk about justice for a moment. Because I think if we don't talk about how can I receive justice if there was an unjust situation, how can I receive that? We do things because we want to be happy. Every single person does everything they do because they want to be happy, right? They don't want suffering, they want to have happiness. So anything anybody ever does is because they want this kind of happiness. Now, people act reasonably, even if they want their own happiness and they don't really care about everybody else's so much, they still try to act in a reasonable way. In that sense, we do need to talk about what is just and what is unjust. And I think very soon we have to ask the question, is it just that if somebody who has been beat by their parents starts to beat their children or lashes out to other people around them, is that just because that person never learned any other way, right? I mean, you can go on and on to those kind of questions. Is it just that people die in wars just because some politicians and governmental people thought it was a good idea to go to war? That is the craziest thing. And if you think in that sense of there is only one life, there is only one way that justice can happen, yeah, it makes sense that we take care of our own fate and we make sure that we are just and we do justice as much as we can, because nobody else will do that for us. Obviously, the government is not. How is it just that wars happen? How is that fair? Is it fair that if somebody lashes out to their children, those children become aggressive and therefore beat their family or the people around them? Is that fair? And all those questions is not. Obviously, it is not fair. And this is why we need to continue to talk about this, because if it was fair, then yeah, we should all run around like our own superheroes and try to fix everything and do justice as much as we can, and whatever it takes, we need to inflict justice. But it doesn't work like that. We cannot live like that. And therefore, I came up with three kinds of justice that I think we can talk about, and they are a little bit different than the philosophical term of justice, but I think it is. I think there are three very cool ideas of justice and how we think we can make sure justice happens. So to make this easy, I came up with 3 things that we can call justice. The first one I call the feeling justice, the felt justice, what you feel. Like if somebody does something bad to you, you feel that in order to make everything just again, in order to make everything fair again, you need to do something to that person, right? This is the first kind of justice that I think is very personal, that, we feel that we need to fix our own fates and our own life and, stand up for ourselves. And, if something unjust happens, then we make it just. Now, the problem with this kind of justice is that usually if something happens to us, it is much, much worse than if it happens to anybody else. For example, if somebody kills my mother, it is much, much, much worse than if some stranger kills some stranger's mother. Honestly, that's how I feel. This is my feeling. That also works when it becomes very personal. If somebody, we have a good example here. Let's say there is person A and person B. If person A, let's say, if person A slaps person B with a 1, with the impact of a 1, what person B will receive is not a 1, it's a 2. Because that's how strong it felt to them, what they received. Now person B will feel that they need to hit person A back in order to make things just. But person B will make it more just, so person A will understand that this is not acceptable. So person B will hit person A back with a 3, with the impact of a 3. Now, what person A receives is not a 3, it's a 4. Because, holy cow, why did you hit me so hard? Like, what happened? I give you 1, now you're giving me a 4? That is not fair. And person B will probably hit back with a 5 or a 6. Now, you see how this kind of sense of feeling justice is not really justice, because, what we put out and what we receive is different, feelings-wise. And this is how, a lot of trauma in the world happens. This is how literally families, for generations after generations, kill each other. Because there is this sense of justice they need to inflict upon each other. It's literally revenge. But it doesn't work because it only causes more trauma and more harm to everybody involved in this. So I think we can say that this is not really justice. Now, the second type of justice is the justice that is being afflicted on us by another force. For example, the government. The law is trying to make just laws to have like the same rights for everybody. So if you do something wrong that's against the law, then you will be punished according to that, and that is what we can call justice. Now the problem with this kind of justice is that depending on the country, there is more just and more unjust laws. Like, take the law that if you smoke some marijuana, you're going to go to prison for a long, long time if you are a certain skin color. That is extremely unjust. That is not a just law. Or take personal stories of people into consideration. If somebody's extremely poor and they steal something, and for stealing something, their hand is going to be cut off. Is that just? I don't think so. That is not a just law. Yes, it may apply to everybody, but it's still not just, because the ratio of crime against punishment is not working. So it's governments and laws try to make things just, but it often doesn't work in the way we wish it would really work, and how justice is inflicted. I mean, we can talk more and more and more about this whole topic about law and justice and not justice, and but I think let's leave it at this very simple part for now, and continue to go on to the third kind of justice. Now, the third kind of justice is the justice that happens to ourselves through ourselves. So if I do something wrong, nothing good will come of that. If I act in a good way, nothing bad will come of that. This is a natural law, the natural law of cause and effect. It is not inflicted to us by some higher power. It is not inflicted to us by some kind of government or higher being. It is just a simple law of cause and effect. If I do something harmful will happen. And that is very obvious. We can perceive that in our daily life. We can perceive that when we continue our lives as we do. And it is a unfailing law that every being has to live by. How we think and how we act doesn't only have an effect on right now and on myself, it also has an effect on the future and on the people around us. That's very obvious. When I say something, I need to stand up for saying that. There is not only an effect now, but there is also definitely an effect in the future. In the future, somebody will say, "You said that." No, definitely, that is definitely true, because what I say and what I do and what I think is not only having an impact on this moment right now, but of course it carries on. That doesn't mean the moment carries on, but the impact or the imprint of that moment carries on. Otherwise, how could I now remember anything I learned in the past? Because there is still some imprint of the past in this moment. And there will still be imprints of this moment in the future. And this is just how it works. Otherwise we wouldn't have any memory, and otherwise we couldn't create memories or learn anything, because we wouldn't remember. It is an imprint of the past. And that imprint can have different, that imprint can express itself through different ways. It can express itself through phenomena and through experience, what I experience and what I perceive. But fact is, if I want to forget something or if I don't want to forget something, it doesn't matter, because an imprint does not have the ability to forget. It's an imprint. How should it forget? It can't. So everything we do always has an impact on the future and on the people around us. It doesn't need to be wished for. It doesn't need to be not wished for. It doesn't matter. Everything, every single thought we have, every single movement we have, every single thing we say has that kind of imprint. And it doesn't matter if you forget about it or if you don't forget about it, because it's just an imprint. Now, what does that mean specifically in terms of forgiveness? It means that I do not need to put justice on other people, because justice will happen to them anyway. Through themselves, not through anybody else. That imprint that others are creating when they do bad things is not a good imprint. And they're gonna experience that. And now anybody who thinks, yeah, they're gonna get what they deserve, stop. It sucks. It's awful. Nobody should suffer. Nobody should even create these kinds of imprints that will make them suffer in the future. It's not cool. It's not fun. It's not fun for you. It's not fun for me. It's not fun for everybody. Anybody. This is why I was talking earlier about I have a responsibility to help people and beings to not create these kinds of imprints in their system. And if I can, I will. And if I cannot, then it is also okay. I will still do my best to help them to not do that. Sooner or later, everybody will experience whatever they created. Therefore, I should honestly take care of my own system before I start to try to fix everybody else's system. Well, what have I thought, done, and said in the past that is still in my system? And how can I fix that? This is what I should focus on. If I hold resentment and grudges against somebody who maybe did me unjust, then what kind of imprint am I creating for my future? This is what I should focus on. Now, of course, again, if I can, I should go to that person and say, look, you hurt me. You did this, and that was very painful. And I think you should fix it for yourself because it's not good for you and your own future. You should fix your own imprint and your own system. But if I can't do that, it's also okay. I still have a responsibility, and I especially have a responsibility because I am in the role that I am. I do have a responsibility for helping those who want help and who ask for it, and even those who don't ask for it sometimes, to help them to not experience this kind of pain and suffering that they are creating when they have this negative thinking and this negative attitude or speech now. But they don't have that suffering in the future from that. Now, if I tried everything to prevent somebody from doing harm, and if I couldn't prevent them and they still did harm, then it is very, very important that I understand that now I have very limited possibilities of what I can do. I pretty much have two. I can take that harm, put it in myself and say, okay, and this is exactly why you're a bad person. You show me how bad you are because of what you just did. And I can keep that and nourish that and put everything they do and everything they say, twist it in my mind and put it on top of why they are so bad in my own thought, in my own thinking. But this kind of idea of hate will not solve anything. The only thing that this will create is an imprint in my own system that is horrible. And it won't be a positive impact for myself. First, what I need to do if I cannot reach that person anymore, if I don't even remember, or if it was a long, long, long time ago, the first thing I need to do is I need to accept what happened. Yes, that happened to me. And I need to deal with it somehow now. And then slowly you can start to deal with it and accept it and start to, work on forgiving those people. Forgiveness is not something that that means that what that person did was fine. And understand and feel what it feels like, how heavy it feels like to not forgive. Let yourself feel what it feels like to not forgive. Remember how amazing it is to have a forgiving and loving heart. There's so many benefits to that. You are more light, you are more loving, you are more peaceful. People will like you more. And then acknowledge that this is a process. Forgiveness is not something that just happens once and forgiven everything. It's all a process. The stronger the impact of whatever happened to you, the stronger work it will take for you to forgive that. And that is okay. You might have fallbacks. That's okay. Just keep going. Be very patient. Be very loving with yourself. Discover that it is not necessary to be loyal to your suffering. You don't need to suffer. You do not need to be loyal to that suffering. You do not need to hold on and say, well, I shouldn't suffer because that was so awful. It's not necessary to do that. Be willing to grieve and let go. It is okay. It is okay to be sad. It is fine. You can feel those feelings and you don't have to feel bad about feeling those feelings. Only if you acknowledge that you have those feelings, you're able to actually let them go eventually. And you do, again, with the process, go through the process of feeling them, acknowledging them, and then knowing you don't need to be loyal to them, and then let go of them. Start with the people that it's most easy to forgive. Start with the people you actually really love. The people that haven't harmed you that much. Start with those when you start your process and your journey of forgiveness. And understand that it will take time. And it's okay. Be patient, be loving, and remember that forgiveness is very, very freeing. You will be free when you forgive. Okay, thank you so much for listening tonight or today, and I hope that this makes your life a little bit easier and maybe helps you a little bit in your daily life. And I wish you all a very wonderful Christmas time and holidays, and I'll try to make more videos, and I'll see you then. Take care and all the best. Please dedicate your merit, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!